Hey everyone, it's Christina here at Close to My Heart, and today we're going to be creating a card front slider together. Now before we get started, make sure of course that you like this video, that you subscribe to our channel, and that you turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. So let's take a look at what this card front slider does. So I have a few different samples here, and I actually want to show you close up so you can see it in action, that we're going to create cards that have this slider component on the front. And how fun is that? It makes this interactive front piece to your card. So that's one sample. We'll look at this one next, this really pretty autumn themed one. Same thing. So you see one image, and then when you pull that slider, it reveals the second image. And then we also have one that's horizontal because this does work both vertically and horizontally, so you can use it whichever way you want. This one we've actually even used stickers on. The others we've used stamping on, but even with stickers, you can see that it slides and creates this really cool image. So what makes doing this so easy is having these die cuts. So these are the die cuts that we created all of the cards that you just saw with, and that we're going to create the one with today. And this is our card front slider window die cuts. So there's 3 dies, and we're going to use all 3 of these today to create a card. So the first thing I'm going to actually do is just grab my trimmer, and I've got some different papers that I want to use for this. So I've got this paper here, which is just from our 4-season summer collection. I've got this one, which is from our October through December mix-in collection. And then I've just got some white daisy. And what I want to start by doing is just cutting some strips. I think I'll just cut almost 6-inch, about 5 3/4 inches or so strips. I'm going to cut each of these into a strip, and I'm doing that just so that it's easy for me to then run these through my die cutter. So I'm going to cut off the zip strip, because each of our decorative papers has a zip strip on it, which is this little additional 1/2 inch of paper here. And it's great to be able to use on all your different projects, but I don't need it on this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that as I cut my strips, just to get ready for my die cutting. So I'll do the same thing on this one. I do love these zip strips. It's something I use all the time, but for this project, I'm not using them. So I typically just put them aside, and then I'll use them on different projects as I'm creating. So now what I've done is I've just basically created these little strips to do my die cutting with. So I'm going to pull in my die cutting machine. I'm just using our Close to My Heart die cutting machine. I'm going to go ahead and just get this ready to cut. I've got it set to die cut, and I have my pressure set to 0. You can of course adjust this pressure depending on the wear on your plates, how often you use your machine, things like that will all impact it. So you'll want to adjust yours. And then I'm going to bring in my cutting mat and use my papers to cut out. Remember, to make this card, I want to be able to cut these 3 pieces. And I'm actually going to cut a bonus piece on this one too, to do something a little fun and extra with it. So I'm going to grab these 2 first, because these are the 2 that are kind of the inside or the inner workings of this die cut. And so those I know I want to be in white daisy. So I'm going to just grab my white daisy cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and place these down. And I'm going to use just a little bit of washi tape, because I just want to make sure that these don't move around as I push them through my machine. So I've got them down onto my cutting mat. I'm then going to go ahead and take my platform and set that on top. And then I'm just going to crank them right through my machine. And these will come out the other side, and my pieces will be cut. So simple and so easy to do with these die cuts. Making cards like this can be a lot of work if you don't have these die cuts. These die cuts are a game changer as far as being able to create cards like this with movement or interactive cards without all of that hard part of doing the measuring and cutting and things like that. It's just simply running them through the die cut machine. So here's what those 2 pieces look like. So I'm going to just set those to the side. I'm done with my white daisy for right now. And I'm going to go back to my die cut sheet and grab the card front piece. So that one looks like this. And I want to cut that out of this paper here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this paper onto my cutting mat, put this piece onto the paper. Again, use a little washi just to hold it in place. Put my platform right on top and run this through. Now I want to add an extra little element to the front of this card that I'm creating, and so I'm going to walk you through that as well. This isn't something that you have to do. This is really just a decorative element, but I thought it'd be kind of neat to show it on this card and show the versatility of these dies and the different ways that you can use them. Now I don't need this piece here, and then this, of course, is the piece that I want. So I'll just take this out. Let's see, I might need my tweezers just to help me get it out. There we go. And that's what that piece looks like. So these three pieces are the pieces that you need. I'm going to do one more though, because I want to add this little decorative element to the front of the card. So I'm going to grab that red and white paper, and I'm going to actually cut this same piece again out of this. Same thing, I'm going to use some washi, put my platform on top, run this through. Now this part isn't needed. This is just adding a fun little touch to the front that I think you're going to like. And it's so easy. I already have these dies out. I already have my papers out. I already have my machine out. So I might as well go ahead and add this extra little element here. So same thing. I'll just take this off. I'm done with this for now. I don't need this piece. I'm going to grab this piece out of here. So I have another one that looks like this. Now I'm done with my dies. I'm done with this paper, so I'll go ahead and get these things out of the way so that we can see what we do next. Okay, now remember, we only needed these three pieces. So this is what we need to create, but I'm going to add in a little something with this right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab my 12-inch cutter, and what I want to do is try to create a little frame that goes around this piece. And I'll show you what that's going to look like. So this is what I want to create. And the reason I want to create that is I want to put that on the front of my card because I just like the little pop that that gives it. And I like that I could create it using the same die cut. So it was easy enough. I just need to trim this down. So what I want to do is I want about a 1/2 inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in and go ahead and measure to that 1/2 inch and then cut. So there's my first side, and now I'm going to turn it and do that same thing. I'm going to go ahead and put this in my cutter. I'm going to measure to that 1/2 inch and cut. So I've got the sides trimmed down now. Now I want to do the same thing top and bottom, but you can see I want a little bit more room on the top and bottom. I actually want those to be 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 3/4 of an inch. So same type of thing. I'm just going to put this in here and go ahead and put that to 3/4 of an inch and make my cut. Turn it around, get this set in here and move it to 3/4 of an inch and make that cut. So simple. I already had this die out. I cut it, and now I have this fun little frame that I can attach to the front. Remember, totally not needed, but I think you're really going to like the way that that looks on our card. Okay, now let's go ahead and move over to this close-up so we can do some assembly, and you can see how easy these go together. So here are my pieces, again, that I have. I also want to make sure that I have a card base. So I have my card base out. I'm going to get that folded in half and ready to go. And now I'm going to start creating the actual structure to make this slider. So my first step, and before I even do this, I want to show you something. This is exactly what I'm following. So these come in that die cut to make it really easy for you when you get this to figure out how to assemble it. So you don't have to just know this. You don't have to just intuitively be able to figure it out. We will have these instructions right in there for you, and I'm going to follow them exactly as they are. So the first thing I want to do is fold. So this piece has 2 score marks. There's one here and one here. And the first thing I want to do is just fold on those score lines like that. That's it for that piece. The next thing I want to do is fold these in. So I'm just folding both of those in. So they look like that. Now I'm going to grab my regular adhesive and I'm going to go ahead and tape these down. What I'm doing here is I'm just trying to reinforce this little tab pull because this is the piece that people are going to pull in and out. So I want to make sure that it's strong. So you can see it's 3 pieces. It's that base piece and then the first side I folded in and now the second side that I folded in. So that's done purposely to make sure that this is reinforced and very strong. Now the next thing I'm going to do is start actually building this slider part. So this is going to be the front of my card. So I want to flip it over to the back side because I don't want anyone to see the inner workings of this. This is the back side. Then what I'm going to do is take this little piece that I have these 2 folds on and I'm going to put adhesive just on these 2 folds. Again, it's my regular adhesive. I'm just going to put them just on these 2 folds because what I'm doing, you'll see here in a minute, is creating a little pocket for this slider piece to slide in and out of. So regular adhesive on these, it's just on those flaps. That's it. Now I fold those flaps in and then I'm going to come over this and I just want to cover that square. So I'm centering this and covering that open square. And then press this down nice so that you can see you've created this little pocket. Now the next step is to go ahead and take this piece and slide it into there because that's what this did. We were creating the little pocket for the slider piece to slide in and out of. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. This is also why we only attached, of course, this piece using the adhesive along the sides that we folded in. And I'm going to push this all the way down so that I can now take this piece, the little tab, and run it up through that slit. So this is what it looks like from the back side. Now when I flip this over, of course, this is what it looks like. And you can see that the basics of this is now created. I can go ahead and pull that open, and then I can close it. So the basic construction is all done. So now it's on to the really fun part of just being able to go ahead and stamp or use stickers to design this card. So I'm going to go ahead and use, I think, this floral sentiment stamp because I just want to do a nice floral on the front here with a little sentiment inside. And I'll take a look at the different stamps that this one has on it. So there's a lot of different stamps. I think I want to do this flower here. I just like the shape of it. I think it will fit well in there with a couple of leaves. I think that will work perfect. So I'm going to grab that stamp and go ahead and put it onto one of our blocks. And then I'm going to use, I think, the melon and candy apple inks because this is candy apple. So I definitely want to include candy apple, but I want to do some shading with this flower. So I think using a combination of these 2 will be nice. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way for a minute. Bring in my 2 ink pads. So I have melon and then candy apple. And then I think what I'm going to do is start by inking it up. I'm going to do a little rock and roll. I'm going to ink it up into the lighter color, which is melon. I'm going to ink this entire thing in melon. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over just the edges in this candy apple. And not even all the edges, just a little bit on this. And then I'm going to stamp right onto here. Yes, there's a little divide there. It's totally okay. I'm just going to go right over it. So I press down and pull up. So I press down and pull up. And there we have the stamped image. So now I want to add a little bit more to this. I just want to add some leaves as well. So I'm going to grab a smaller block and I'm going to change up my ink pads. And I got exactly the look that I wanted here. You can see I have that candy apple and then the melon. So I have a little bit of dark and then it gets a little lighter, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So the next ink I'm going to grab is my pine. And I'm going to grab my stamp set again. And this is the leaf that I want. I think this leaf will look really nice. And I think I'll just do first and second generation stamping. So it kind of goes along with what I have here shown already. There's just a little bit of, this will be a little bit of variance in the colors that you see. It's not just all first generation. So I think this will look nice. So I'll ink it up. And then I'll go ahead and do one leaf like this. And without re-inking, I'm going to come right back down and do my second leaf. And I love the way that that looks. So exactly what I was hoping for there. Now, that's the first part of this image. Now it's time for me to go ahead and do the inside sentiment, right? So this is what my card front would look like, which I love. But now it's time to do the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. And this reveals a new blank slate for me to create my inside. So I think for the inside, I will do, let's see, maybe I'll do congratulations. I'm going to do praying for you, actually, I think. I feel like this is one that I would use a lot. So I'm going to grab this one. I'll again put it on a little block here. And I'm going to give this a quick season, so I'm all ready to stamp with it. And I'm going to use our Harbor ink. Harbor is an ink that I go to often when I don't want to just use a stark black. And so this is a nice option for me to have. And then I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. And I'm just going to stamp so that that line is kind of right in the middle of the praying and for you. Easy enough. So there you have now the second image. So again, first image, second image. So simple, so easy. Now this part's important. To attach it to this card base, I want to make sure that I'm using foam tape. And that's because you want this to all of these inside things that we created, you want those to still work well, right? You don't want anything to interfere with how that construction inside works. So I'm going to just use some foam tape to give this some room on this card front so that the sliding mechanism still works really well and easy for me. Now, the last step we have to do is just go ahead and attach this to our card, do it base, and do any embellishing that we want. So I'll just take off the back pieces of the tape here. And then I'm going to attach this to the card front. And then I'm going to add that extra little piece as well. So this just gets attached and it gets centered. So this die cut piece that we die cut is designed to fit just inside of that standard side card base like that. So it really looks nice once you attach it to that. Now remember, I wanted to add this little extra piece that I cut, which I think was just a fun little way to use that die cut again and add a nice little accent. So I just added this little gem so that it kind of points to where you need to pull to go ahead and have your interactive piece there. So that's how easy it is to create really fun interactive cards by using this die cut. We hope that this was helpful for you and that it inspires you to try some on your own.